Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. Thanks to the London Economic newspaper, we now have footage of Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage and a bunch of other politicians like that laughing and enjoying themselves to a song that I believe is called We're All Racist Now. And it gives us an awesome insight into how these people actually think.
Racist now, off to the gallows we must go, E-I-E-I-E-I-O, worse than Winston Churchill, worse than Enoch Powell, Ku Klux Klan and Jimmy Fallon, we're all racist now. Oh, the countryside is racist, dogs and cats are racist, eating meat is racist, Black Lives Matter's even racist, do you know what's also racist? You!
Again, to quote the usual suspects, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince the world he didn't exist, and the same goes for modern day racism. Because if you want to make sure that nothing is ever done to actually get rid of racism, then your best strategy is to convince people that racism is not a real problem that needs to be solved. And a good way to do that is to paint anybody who does call out racism as being hysterical, overly sensitive, snowflakey, race baity, all these kinds of things. And so that song lists a bunch of things that people have linked to racism in the past as a way of saying, look, they're calling everything racist these days, so let's just ignore all the people that call out racism. In a society where racism is actually a problem on an institutional, systemic basis, then it's going to affect every area of our lives. And not just in the ways that are obvious, like how police stop and search black people many times more than white people, or how having a black name on your CV means you have to send 80% more applications to get a call back when you're applying for work. It'll affect the little things as well, which will lead to headlines like, oh, they're calling tracksuits racist now. And I've had to deal with that in debates.
Help us understand this.
The article takes a weird angle. It basically says that people are being told that if they swear freely or wear jogging bottoms, they are expressing white privilege. Now, it's the fundamental misunderstanding as to what privilege is. So, for example, I have male privilege. That means, for example, I can walk down a dark alley at night without that much fear. It's not an accusation to have privilege. It's simply a recognition of the inequalities in society.
And so black people are going to be a lot more hesitant to wear hoodies, jogging bottoms, clothes that are associated with the stereotypes that hold black people back because they know they won't be able to get away with it. But by pointing at the smallest, most seemingly inconsequential things that racism can affect, it makes it look like the people who complain about racism are just blowing everything out of proportion. And that's the joke that the people in that room are laughing at. The Tories are saying that because people are calling everything racist these days, we won't take any notice anymore when you call us racist. We're all racist now. But it goes on a bit further into how they view party politics in general, because they actually list all the bad things the Tories themselves have done. And we should include Nigel Farage in that because he's sitting in there laughing along with them, and the Tories have been basically dancing to Nigel Farage's tune for the last 10 years.
Principles, that 2019 mandate, how they blew its risible, betrayed their supporters, betrayed the country, not a tear do I shed. All that being said, maybe the Labour Party's even worse. Or is that even possible it's worse?
They are straight up admitting how badly they fucked up the country, but they're overtly celebrating that because of the two-party system, if Labour doesn't win back the trust of voters, the ball will just get thrown back to them. They're celebrating, we fucked up the country, the only other option won't save the country, so we'll get to run the country again. And again, I can't stress this enough, Nigel Farage is in that room too. Somebody who is the owner of the Reform Party, formerly the Brexit Party, the man responsible for Brexit, a man who has admitted that his Brexit is making this country poorer. So for him to be laughing along with the joke that the right has screwed up the country, Labour's not doing much better, so it's going to go back to the right, he is part of this. This right-wing establishment that does not give a shit if they ruin the lives of millions of people as long as they get to be in charge.
Vile Hitler, we're all far on now. Oh, you say you're in the middle, a moderate individual, a Gladstonian liberal. You once laughed at Donald Trump, you're probably a fascist too.
And here's the thing, as much as I enjoy watching a room full of mainly rich white men laughing about how little they care about the problems of racism, that's kind of the point. They don't care about racism. Because when I call people like Boris Johnson or Nigel Farage racist, I'm not saying that they have some burning hatred in their hearts against black and brown people. That's not what it's about for them. They are simply using racism as a tool to win votes. Like when Nigel Farage stood in front of that Breaking Point poster, the people in that poster were from the Middle East. They weren't part of the EU's free movement system. They had no rights to enter the UK under EU rules because the UK wasn't part of the EU's common asylum policy. And so even though Nigel Farage knew that the people in that photograph had nothing to do with our membership of the EU, he knew the people he was trying to convince would be a lot more scared of a whole bunch of brown people migrating than white people. Again, racism is just a tool that these people use to win votes. And I think that's why they're comfortable to sit in a room joking about how we're all racist now and everybody thinks they're racist, because they don't actually believe in the cause of racism. It's just something they use for their own political advantage. I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.